So I was trying to move Eleanor out of the garage, you know, my 1956 Beetle that's in there, and the Puch Moped over here, the handlebar was hitting the fender. It never used to do that, and I couldn't figure out why. So I started digging into things in the garage and ended up tearing everything out of the garage that was where this was parked at. I wasn't going to make a video of this anytime soon, but I figured I'd give you a little walk around to show the bike, because people have just recently and suddenly been asking about it. So this is my Puch Magnum II right here. So of course, before we jump into anything, please like my video, please click subscribe, and pluck that little dingle belly off there next to the right, so that way you get updates every time I upload a video. And please subscribe to my other channels as well, VV the Duck VV and Skeeter the Duck. Thanks for watching. So I was working on taking the oval out of the garage over here, and the top of the fender on the right-hand side over here, which actually is the driver's side, or would be the left, doesn't clear the handlebar on the Puch Moped. And this is my Puch Moped, and this is something I haven't ridden in, oh geez, since around 2000, I guess it was, when I was in between cars. I actually put this on the road because my commute to work was only like a mile and a half or something. So this was real easy to just get on and putt to work. So this thing's been sitting in the garage for quite a while. I started to rebuild it and get the performance tuning on it, because I ride with, or used to ride with, a lot of sport bike riders that would go on some of the back roads that we had not too far from here and drive like idiots. And I could outmaneuver them on a 250. So I figured, wouldn't it be a real assholey thing if I could outmaneuver them on a moped? I know that would just drive them nuts. Absolutely nuts. So that's why I was building it. And it went on pause, because a lot of my biker friends unfortunately gave up on riding. So I got parked, and I guess you can kind of say I lost interest in it. I still love the machine though, and I still would like to put it back together. So it will happen in time. It's not high on the priority list. In fact, you can see just how dirty it is, because it's been sitting in that same spot for about 8 years. All that debris you see behind it is all the stuff that was wedged in behind the back wheel. And what had happened is it had pushed the whole bike forwards, and it was actually rolling out of the little section I have in here. So the front wheel was coming out this way, and that's the reason why the handlebar wasn't clearing that fender anymore when it used to. So it had me a head scratching moment as to why it wasn't clearing, and it turned out the whole bike had shifted its position. When I got underneath it, I found a whole bunch of wood shavings and all kinds of other debris, and as soon as I saw that, I said, you know, that's evidence of a mouse. I've got a mouse in here. And then when I looked more closely, right there in the corner, I found me a little mouse hole. So we're going to take care of that. Didn't realize I had a little roommate in here. Yeah, I didn't realize I had a little roommate. So we're going to, we're either going to evict him or we're going to lock his ass in. And the way to do that is with steel wool. Just shove some steel wool up in that hole, and they don't like this stuff because it's prickly, and they don't dig through it. You gotta pack it in there real good to make sure that they don't pull it out too easily. There we go. We'll keep an eye on that and see if there's any disturbance there, or if they start digging around the outside of it, because that might be the next thing to do, is they try to make the hole bigger. Seeing as how I haven't moved this bike in about 8 years, those little critters may have already moved out and moved on. But nonetheless, they're not moving back in. But anyway, I'm trying to remember everything that I put on this thing. That's a Bing 17mm carburetor on there, which is from a Puch Magnum II dirt bike, which the little junior motocross bikes. I guess it was a Puch Magnum JMX, it might have been. Maybe it wasn't just an X. But anyways, they used moped engines with a little bit more of a performance tune on them. They put a bigger carburetor on there and a better tuned exhaust. But it was still a moped engine, you know, through and through. So I put that carburetor on there with a modified manifold that upgraded that. What you see on there is a cheap-ass bi-turbo expansion chamber exhaust, and that was actually the hot thing about 25 years ago. So that was the reason why I've still got that now. I will eventually upgrade that, but I haven't bothered to. But, you know, it works, and there's a custom header that I built for that. You know, I put all the twisties in it and made it work, and the length of it, I'm sure, is entirely wrong. Used to be a dual exhaust. In fact, there is the expansion chamber that I had built with the T, which was a pretty stupid idea when you think about, you know, how the exhaust has to tee off with 90-degree angles like that. Not particularly good for performance. But that's what I built, and I did it more for looks than anything else. The bike got a lot of compliments with dual exhausts on it. It was odd. It was weird. It's got a bored and ported cylinder on there. I forget what make it is, but it doesn't have any reed valves on it. That will get replaced. I'm not satisfied with what's on there. So in time, I will, of course, upgrade that as well. And like I said, something with reed valves would be real nice. And then there's this big empty place up underneath the gas tank in here, where I think with some minor frame modifications, this could be a dual-engine bike. And what I would do is I would essentially cut it right about up here, and I would cut it right about here, and then move the whole damn thing up. The engine would go up higher, and a second engine can go beneath it. And in between the two flywheels, I'd run some kind of belt drive, so I can actually run two motors on this thing. And I've got a second engine, been up in the attic for, oh geez, about 20 years, sitting in a box, just waiting for me to do something with it. The other thing you might notice is it's got a monoshock in the rear, and that's actually from a Yamaha R6. I wanted to do something a little bit different, something that gives the bike a little more of a stiffer ride, because me at 250 pounds, I exceed the maximum weight of a rider, which I think is actually about $1.75. So I kind of crushed the suspension. And the other trouble is when I go around a turn, if that back wheel starts to hop, you lose control of it. The thing just starts skipping across the road. And it's happened to me a couple times, and it just scares the living shit out of you. But it's also got disc brakes. The wheel's been converted to discs. These are off of some kind of little pit bike. I don't remember what kind of pit bike, probably Chinese. It's also got a set of forks, which is off some kind of Chinese pit bike. They looked really cool, which is the only reason why I bought them. But when I put together on this bike, I realized just how stiff they were, and I really, really liked the way they felt rolling up and down the driveway. Always got to go for the noisy garbage trucks. So I got discs on the front. I've also got a disc on the rear. I modified that to go on there just the same, and everything's hydraulic. No more cables. I was having problems with squeezing those cables as tight as I possibly could, and those little drum brakes, which are, you know, about the size of a tennis ball, just could not stop me in the bike. And I just took my big gorilla hands and I would just crush the brakes, and the brake cables would usually snap right up here, and then the cables would point straight up in the air to just swing up like this. And then, of course, you're dragging your feet and steering off the road, trying not to hit the car in front of you. I modified the seat. I used to have more of a flat seat on there that was a straight contour directly from the gas tank all the way out to the tail that's on there, and I didn't care for that too much. It was just a little too high, and it started to shred and fall apart, so I ended up making, in fact, there's the little pieces of padding that I had cut down. I made some slim padding to go on this, and I'm going to wrap that down and make it nice and flat so it looks more cafe racer, you know, so it has a nice saddle in it where it's actually cut out. This is the bike. I've got on the front here some modified Hayabusa front brake reservoir, and not just reservoir, it's actually a master cylinder, as well as a clutch master cylinder for the rear. And these worked out pretty good. They worked out pretty good, but they did develop some leaks, and I don't really feel like rebuilding them because they've been custom modified so that way they didn't move the same volume of fluid to these tiny little calipers that are down here, because the amount of fluid that these things move is tremendous. There's not much brake motion in it at all, and it's just stiff as a rock. So yeah, I will be probably replacing those. I really liked them when I first put them on there, but they're going to go away. It's got a set of clip-ons, which came off of a, I want to say like a Honda 929 or something. I don't remember exactly what. I have to look at some of my older videos. But those clip-ons are actually from a Honda sport bike, and they lended themselves quite well to clipping onto this front end. And those clip-ons, I actually had them machined out about 1 millimeter or 2, I can't remember what, by A-Bomb. And if you know A-Bomb79, he's got his own YouTube channel. He actually helped me with that a long time ago. And once I had those cut out, they clamped right on here just like they were intended for this bike. Brilliant fit, brilliant fit. Now I've been told that the top up here, where this is welded to the frame, is probably going to tear through, so I'm going to have to make some kind of reinforcement up there. And this is just because of what somebody told me, not that I actually think it's going to happen, but you know, it wouldn't hurt to add a little more reinforcement on it anyway. So this is my Puch Magnum II. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 1980 Puch Magnum II. I used to drive this thing all over northern New Jersey back around 1991 to about 94. 95, I was riding a Honda motorcycle. Well, part-time Honda motorcycle. My Honda CB450 actually exploded around that time, and I had it rebuilt by a local guy who kind of smashed up the gas tank on it after I just had a custom paint job on it. So he gave me the rebuild without letting me pay for it because he messed up my gas tank. Needless to say, the bike ran about another 2 years, maybe 3 years, and then it blew up again, and this time the head completely disintegrated. And that was the problem with it before. One of the valves let go and it got pushed through the head. So I had the head re-welded, magnafluxed, and repaired. And it lasted several more years until it dropped the valve again. Apparently those bikes are really known for it. The Honda CB450T, 1982, 1 year only bike. Those things were heavy too, like 500 pounds. Everything on it was steel. Steel, everything. Heavy, heavy bike. And there it is. This is a 2-speed. I believe the engine's a ZA50. And I think the 1-speed ones were E50s. It's a Puch Moped. He knows how long that swing arm is in the back because because I added not just the shock, but the entire linkage from the R6. I put the whole thing on there. I just wanted to be different. I also couldn't think of a better way to mount it, so that's the way it wound up on there. It also increased my ground clearance a little bit. Now, once I sit on the bike, though, it mushes just enough. And I actually measured the geometry on an R6, so I put everything back in at the same angles in which the R6 contained it. So anyway, if you like my Puch Magnum II, give me a thumbs up on this video. Click that subscribe button, I really appreciate it. And don't forget to pluck that little dingle belly next to it so that way you get updates every time I upload a new video. And please check out my other channels, of course, VV the Duck VV and Skeeter the Duck. And I believe this bike is actually up on VV the Duck VV. And that's where I put the original upload of it. And if not, you don't see it there, then check DuckmanCycles and some of the older stuff. I'm sure it's there. But this video is a much better quality than the old video because HD cameras were only just hitting the market about that time I first started recording this video, so this is a much higher quality video.